He escaped a lynching at age 11, became a boxer at 16, a soldier at 19, a war hero by 21, and the world's first black fighter pilot at 22. Later, he became a musician, a spy, a nightclub owner, a hero twice forgotten, once by history and once by the nation that rejected him. This is not just a biography. This is a saga, the true story of Eugene Jacques Bullard, the man who lived 10 lives in one. This is Black Antiquity. Eugene Jacques Bullard was born on October 9, 1895, in Columbus, Georgia, a place where the law said he was free, but life said otherwise. He was one of 10 children, raised in a world still soaked in the rage of Reconstruction. The promise of freedom was thin. The danger was thick. The air itself carried the threat of sudden violence, of lives snuffed out for the smallest perceived transgression. His father, William Bullard, was a proud man, the grandson of enslaved Africans who fought for their own liberation. He worked back-breaking jobs to keep his family fed, his spine straight despite a world designed to break it. He taught Eugene courage, dignity, and defiance. He told his sons stories of their ancestors who had refused to bow, who had chosen death over submission. But in Georgia, defiance came with a price. One day, William Bullard stood up to a white man who tried to harm him. For that, a mob came hunting. No trial, no questions, only a rope and a tree. They came at night, torches blazing, voices howling with the kind of rage that needs no reason. Eugene watched the violence unfold with the helpless fear of a child. He saw his father run into the darkness, heard the dogs bang, felt his mother's trembling hands covering his mouth to keep him silent. His father barely escaped with his life, hiding in swamps and sleeping in ditches until the bloodlust passed. And in that moment, Eugene learned the truth. If he stayed in Georgia, he would die in Georgia. At just 11 years old, Eugene ran away from home, alone, unarmed, determined. He carried nothing but the clothes on his back, and a child's dream of a place his father once mentioned, a place across the ocean where a black man could walk freely. France, his father had said. In France, they treat you like a man. He slept under trees, in abandoned barns, behind churches, begged for food from the back doors of restaurants, took work wherever he could, farms, stables, fishing docks, anywhere that would pay a black child a few coins for a day's labor. The journey was brutal. He was beaten by grown men who saw him as an easy target. He went days without eating. He nearly froze during winter nights spent huddled against haystacks. But Eugene kept moving. Eventually, he fell in with a group of Romani travelers, people as nomadic and untamed as he wanted to be. They recognized something in him, a kindred spirit, a survivor, they taught him. To ride horses bareback at full gallop, to entertain crowds with acrobatics and showmanship, and to survive through wit, speed, and instinct. He learned their language, their songs, their philosophy of constant motion as a form of freedom itself. Eugene realized something powerful. The world was bigger than Georgia's hatred. There were places where a person could be judged by their character, their skills, their courage, not the color of their skin. By 16, he reached Norfolk, Virginia, and talked his way onto a merchant ship bound for England. He convinced the captain he could work as a stowaway, doing any job no one else wanted. The boy fleeing death had crossed an ocean, and he wasn't done yet. In England, Eugene discovered boxing, a profession where color didn't matter as much as fists, footwork, and heart. He trained at the legendary Wonderland Club in London's East End, surrounded by fighters from across the empire who respected only one thing: skill. Irish brawlers, Scottish street fighters, Caribbean bruisers, men who had all fought their way up from nothing. Bullard's opponents underestimated him. They saw his size. He was only 5 feet 6 inches and assumed an easy victory. He made them regret it. He became known for his speed, technique, and unbreakable spirit. His defense was nearly impenetrable, his counterpunches devastating. He could take punishment that would drop larger men and keep coming forward with a smile that unsettled his opponents more than any trash talk. Crowds loved him. Managers sought him. He traveled with vaudeville shows across Europe, earning money, learning languages. He became fluent in French and conversational in several others, and gaining the kind of worldly confidence that only comes from proving yourself in 100 different rooms. For a moment, it seemed like boxing might be his future. He could see a path forward, more fights, bigger purses, perhaps even a championship. But destiny had something else in mind. 1914, Europe caught fire. The Great War consumed nations. Young men across the continent marched into trenches of steel and mud, into a mechanized hell that turned battlefields into slaughterhouses. Eugene Bullard, now 19, did not hesitate. He enlisted in the French Foreign Legion because France saw something the United States never had: his humanity. The Legion accepted men from anywhere, asked no questions about your past, only about your willingness to fight. For Eugene, it was the first time an official institution treated him as an equal. He fought in brutal battles, Champagne, Artois, Somme, where entire regiments disappeared in days, where the earth itself seemed to scream, where rats grew fat on the dead, where poison gas turned men's lungs to liquid. He saw friends torn apart by artillery shells. He held dying men in his arms who whispered messages for families they would never see again. He learned to sleep standing up in muddy water. He learned to distinguish the whistle of incoming shells by sound alone. He was wounded twice, once by shrapnel that tore through his thigh, once by a bullet that should have killed him, but instead lodged near his spine. He was decorated for bravery, receiving the Croix de Guerre and the Médaille Militaire, respected by his brothers in arms, who cared nothing for race when survival depended on the man beside you. But Eugene was not done rising. While recovering from injuries in a military hospital, Eugene watched fighter planes slicing through the sky above the battlefield. Those machines, fragile wood and canvas held together by wire, represented a new kind of warfare, a new kind of freedom. He wanted to fly. People laughed. A black pilot in 1917, when most white people still believed black men lacked the intelligence for complex machinery. Impossible. But Eugene had outrun mobs, crossed oceans, and survived trenches. He didn't believe in impossible. He applied to flight school and was accepted. Another small miracle from France. He trained fiercely, mastering the physics of aerodynamics, navigation by landmarks and stars, the delicate art of aerial combat where a single mistake meant death. He learned to handle the temperamental rotary engines that could explode without warning. He practiced dogfighting maneuvers until they became instinct. He studied the tactics of German aces, learning to anticipate and counter them. And then it happened. He became the first black fighter pilot in world history. France called him l'Hirondelle Noire, the Black Swallow, the Black Swallow of Death. He flew a sleek Spad 7 fighter adorned with his personal insignia, a heart with a dagger through it, on combat missions deep into German-held territory. He faced legendary German aces in withering anti-aircraft fire, fearless, precise, unstoppable. He completed over 20 combat missions, engaging enemy aircraft in the deadly ballet of aerial warfare where victory meant survival and defeat meant falling 3 miles to your death. When America entered the war in 1917, U.S. officers inspected foreign pilots for recruitment into the American forces. They saw Bullard. They saw his medals hanging on his chest, his flight records documenting his combat experience, his reputation among French aviators. They saw everything except what they were looking for. And they said, the United States does not accept Negro pilots. The country of his birth rejected him again, on foreign soil, in the middle of a world war, while he wore the uniform of an ally and carried wounds earned fighting their mutual enemy. The irony was crushing. America would eventually allow black men to fight and die in trenches, but not to fly above them. So he stayed with France, the nation that treated him as a man, as a warrior, as a hero. After the war, Paris became his kingdom. The 1920s transformed the city into a haven for black artists, musicians, and intellectuals, fleeing American racism. Eugene fit perfectly into this renaissance. He opened L'Escadrille, later renamed Le Grand Duke, a nightclub that became legendary. He played drums with a fierce, joyful energy. He spoke perfect French, conversational German, functional Italian. He befriended Josephine Baker, Louis Armstrong, Langston Hughes, Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald. His club became the epicenter of jazz-age Paris, a place where royalty mingled with revolutionaries, where art and music and philosophy flowed as freely as champagne. He became a celebrity, a businessman, a symbol of international black excellence. He married a French woman, Marcel Straumann, and raised 2 daughters. He lived the life that Georgia had tried to deny him. But peace never lasts. By the late 1930s, darkness gathered again over Europe. Nazi spies began lurking in Paris, gathering intelligence, recruiting collaborators, preparing for invasion. Bullard used his nightclub as a trap. As an entertainer, he moved freely through society. German officers and diplomats frequented his club, drinking and talking carelessly around a black man they assumed was beneath notice. He listened. He remembered every word. He reported everything to French intelligence. When war finally came, and France fell in 1940, he joined the fight again. Though now in his 40s and carrying old wounds that never properly healed, he joined the 51st Infantry Regiment, fighting in the desperate defense of Orléans. He was wounded while rescuing civilians during a bombing, taking shrapnel that should have killed him. Eventually, as France collapsed, he escaped, first to Spain, then Portugal, finally securing passage to America aboard a ship crowded with refugees. And once again, America offered him nothing. In New York, Eugene Bullard worked as an elevator operator at Rockefeller Center, the world's first black fighter pilot, a decorated war hero, a jazz icon, reduced to pushing buttons in a department store, going up. Watch your step. Have a nice day. Customers rode up and down beside a legend and never knew. He lived in Harlem, surrounded by the ghosts of his extraordinary past. His medals sat in a drawer. His uniform hung in a closet. His daughters asked him to tell the stories, and he did, though fewer people believed them as years passed, but France remembered. In 1954, they invited him back. They made him a Knight of the Legion of Honor, France's highest decoration. He stood at attention while medals were pinned to his chest, tears streaming down his weathered face. He wore that medal beneath his elevator operator's uniform, close to his heart. He died on October 12th, 1961, 3 days after his 66th birthday. In France, he was buried with full military honors. The country that saw him for who he was never forgot. In America, almost no one noticed. They erased his name from textbooks. They buried his achievements in forgotten archives. They left his legacy in the shadows where uncomfortable truths are hidden. But legends are patient. They wait for the world to catch up. They wait for the day when truth demands to be heard. Because before they wrote aviation history, we were already in the sky. before they spoke of courage. We had already bled for it, before they acknowledged our humanity. We had already proven it in every way that mattered. Eugene Jacques Bullard, fighter, pilot, soldier, survivor, spy, father, hero. His story is not ancient history. His last daughter lived until 2014. The injustices he faced are not distant memories, but living legacy. Black Antiquity, where Black legends are remembered, where forgotten heroes find their voice, where history gets the reckoning it deserves. The black swallow flew when they said it was impossible, and his wings never stopped beating. Like, comment, The Black Swallow of Death, subscribe for more, and share our Black legend.